I said I would like to bring in insights and reflections in this new phase of personal development that I'm in, specifically in relation to training and exercise. And I thought it would be interesting to, introduce that whilst there's like a degree of stability and established routine in this habit, but also in terms of the long-term trajectory, not goals particularly at this point, but a continued desire to build relationship and discipline with this, that there's a long and winding trajectory ahead, so it's still early days, and therefore I thought it would be interesting to actually initiate discussing these reflections now whilst things are bedding in, whilst I'm kind of orienting, and also then this creates a way for you to see and feel and hear, in real time, what's going on for me, and hopefully some of those reflections and insights might be supportive to you in considering your own practice, with voice work, but also your own practice in terms of what's going on with your body, and how you're conditioning your body and looking after your instrument. I've returned to the gym after a very, very long time, and I think it's important to frame my early relationship with the gym and kind of paint a picture of what that looked like. Not to dwell on it, but just to offer the insight into the contrast of then and now, and also why there's been a really long period, or like a gap basically, in feeling like that environment is somewhere that could be supportive and that could be a container in which I would be able to safely explore and come into a space of vulnerability, I guess, with re-engaging with a commitment around a cultivation practice that relates to the physical work. So the gym was a place for me in my kind of early teens that became quite an obsessive, an environment where it wasn't particularly an enjoyable space. It was a space connected to striving, associated with enduring, and pain and forcing, and not supported in terms of the effort that I was putting in, and the goals, the really hard fixed goals that I had in mind that were particularly related to weight loss, were not healthy in the sense that they weren't really supported adequately by the nutrition side of things. So I was kind of borrowing really from my well of reserve, and it became an environment, I suppose, where I could experiment with that sense and feeling of being in control. But I think reflecting back on that period and knowing kind of where I was in my sense of self and sense of confidence in relation to my body image, and yeah, all of those kind of complexities. Yeah, I don't think I was in control. I was kind of yeah, that space was a taskmaster on me, and I was kind of subservient to it in a way that I had kind of got myself into this this habit and this relationship of forcing, pushing, striving, in a way that was actually to try and erode and to punish and to punish myself. So fast forward to now, so say that was like ballpark age 15, and I'm 32 now. I've had a very physical life and a very active life, and done lots of different things that have been creative channels for me to explore a relationship to my body and its capacity and what it can do in different ways. But I haven't been back to the gym until this year. So where I am at this point in time is that environment and that space is not one of punishment, but it's one where I'm kind of actively trying to build in this relationship of sanctuary, of a place to show up and meet myself, and to be accountable to myself, and to talk to my body and engage with it in a way that is inviting partnership, inviting dialogue, inviting relationship that feels, if the word control is to come in there, it's about how can I cultivate a discipline within myself that allows me to play with a dynamic sense of control in terms of capacity building. So actually stretching my capacity to feel like I can tolerate more, hold more energy, build more resilience. And that is kind of tied into that thing around increasing fitness and wellness and strengthening your body, conditioning your body, but also your mind as well. So I think, yeah, the difference distinctly being previously maybe being a kind of a slave to a negative internal narrative, destructive internal narrative, and at this point being in dialogue with and curious to explore a narrative that's actually about well-being and self-care, and trying to actively nourish this loving approach towards self and relationship to self. So yeah, it's quite interesting because, you know, the way that you associate an environment and your kind of memories and reference points around that, those things are formative and they are kind of embedded in there in a way as memory. So then when you're kind of engaging with something anew, there is that opportunity to reframe or to, soften a kind of rigid idea of like, this is what this means to me. You can actually start to think about, what if I want to kind of change that definition, and what if I'm starting to see this in a different light and in a different way, and those kind of old reference points or ideas, they don't necessarily completely fade away, but they start to lose their power, and they don't feel so heavy or restrictive. So that's the kind of space I'm in right now, where I'm still in this transition, I guess, between these two places, and I'm not fully over here in the new space or the new identity, but I'm immersed enough and have enough time and reps and engagement with this space to feel like, okay, I am aware of my environment, and I'm aware of my like orientation on the map kind of thing. So that's interesting, and I anticipate that is going to continue to keep shifting and changing in a positive light. And it's funny because I'm actually drawing so much around my disciplines that relate to my engagement with voice work, and what I know about myself and my habit forming patterns, and also my approach to study, my approach to continued learning and development, and all of that growth that has happened in other ways and in other domains, other modalities, not just related to the body. But a lot of mindset stuff, a lot of emotional landscape stuff that are all informing and feeding into a revised approach as to, okay, if I am embedding this way of being that feels more aligned with who I am now, and also the direction of travel that I'm trying to go in, I'm really trying to like draw on the wealth and the richness of all of these other insights. So it feels like quite an exciting time, because it's like harvesting in a way from that space, and kind of setting markers for myself in this specific focus. So I'm kind of setting up tests, I guess, for myself to see, like, okay, if I employ this and this and this, and I test this for a couple of weeks and see how I go, and I'm kind of reflecting on that in real time, in present moment, but also journaling and having time away from that to kind of assess how that's landing and feeling for me, and primarily using my awareness of like what's going on in my nervous system and how do I feel as a marker that is guiding and helping me inform, okay, does this experiment feel like it has been helpful? What have I learned? What do I want to keep exploring? What doesn't feel useful or helpful? So that's the kind of space that I'm in now, and where I intend to keep sharing insights from, because the crossover or the intersection of how this informs the voice work stuff, the two are inexorably linked from a kind of strategic training point of view, in terms of if body is the instrument and we're trying to strengthen our capacity, expressive capacity, there needs to be a strong foundation there. So yeah, there's lots of other things that feed into that as well that are not just connected to the physical, but that discipline aspect is a real interesting topic and theme. And when I think about musical educational experiences and points in time where there have been peaks and troughs, or bursts of activity or focused study towards goals like exams or performances, and how that looks from a mapping point of view in terms of spikes or peaks or troughs and cycles of burnout potentially, versus this like longer term view of what that journey looks like in terms of your continued exponential growth and development, and actually being able to ascertain like what is the rate of growth on that longer term pathway that feels useful and helpful and beneficial, and perhaps that moves in a kind of more cyclical way. So in terms of the tracking of all of that, I'm really interested in that side of things, and I do have some tools that I think would be really useful for you guys if this is something that you're interested in, because this is the opportunity that we have to actually gather data on our own development processes and use that to inform how we are approaching a specific goal, or just in general our personal development outlook with voice. So if this is speaking to you and this is something that you're interested in, let me know and do engage, because I do have resources related to this. And I think habit tracking is so helpful, but it needs to be engaged with in a way that is sustainable and that actually empowers a continued engagement with the activity, rather than just being something that we get pulled into and distracted by, or becomes like a focal point of procrastination, rather than being something that has a feedback loop that helps us return to our activity in a way that is feeding in that data of like, okay, how do I continue to revise and improve as time goes on. So those are my immediate kind of insights as they stand today, and I'll be interested as well to kind of review this conversation in 6 months' time and see where things are at. And yeah, as to the middle the middle years between 15 and 32, what have I been doing physically? A lot. I could tell you about that another time. But yeah, it does feel good to really get back into the body in a very tangibly focused way. So yeah, more insights to come, and stay well everyone in these turbulent times.